Yeah, by far the most surprising move of the offseason thus far. The Chiefs trading Tyreek Hill to the Dolphins, and Miami futures are a wee bit shorter this morning. Now plus 3,300 to win it all, plus 2,000 to be crowned AFC champion, and now have the second best odds in the AFC East to win the division. Everybody, good morning. Welcome to the Sweat, presented by DraftKings. I am Emerson Latzia. She is Jesse Cofield. Imagine being Tyreek Hill this morning. I would not take my eyes off that bank account right now. Like $53 million fully guaranteed right as he puts pen to paper.
That's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
Zeros, but now he's going to be catching passes from Tua.
It's true. It's true.
A bit of it's a lot of money, but it's also kind of like a...
Oh, it's a gamble. It's a huge gamble for sure. I do like the trade for both sides because Miami gets that like number one dominant receiver to help Tua. We're about to find out if he's the guy or not. But at the same time, the handful of picks that the Chiefs are getting restock with young talent that you can actually afford. That's what happens when you pay a quarterback $500 million, and that cap hit just continues to go up every year.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it from a fantasy perspective, though, I think like Mahomes kind of dropped a little bit here because he doesn't have
100%.
Hill, and then Hill's value dropped a little bit too because he's catching passes from Tua.
Yep.
So
you could say Kelsey's value has also dropped. More people are going to be able to hone in on him, and his 32-year-old body's just going to keep taking hits. But I honestly think the gamble here is by the Dolphins and by Hill and it all hinges on Tua right now. It really does, because if he's not the man, it's like the Miami Dolphins here paid for a Ferrari that they can't use or bring out of the garage. And then you have Hill, who left a perennial contender just for a few more dollars.
But I did like all the memes that came from it yesterday.
Give me the memes.
Like Tyreek Hill on his way to the Dolphins, and it was just him sprinting through the... So that was just amazing.
I'm out of here.
We got a lot to get to over the next 55 minutes, but we're going to start with the trade that we're talking about. DraftKings Contributor Pearce Dietrich is here. Yep. So like we said, Chiefs get a bunch of picks, a first, second, and fourth this year, as well as a fourth and sixth next season. Pearce, you were on the show yesterday, and here's a friendly reminder that you weren't too sure this was going to happen. Take a listen.
This is clickbait, and the normies are eating it up. He's not going anywhere. This was clearly a leak by Rosenhaus to speed up the negotiation process. He's not getting traded. It's just a leak to get leverage. That is all that this is. I mean, think about it. When did this news pop up? Oh, I don't know, on the slowest day where nothing is happening. They just happened to drop this one on the people. He's not going anywhere. Let's move on.
Oh, well, how the turntables. Going from Patty Mayonnaise, though, to Tua, Pearce. I mean, how much of a hit does Hill's fantasy value take for next season?
That was a quality take. It was dead wrong, but it was spicy.
Just like your
flat out wrong.
Just like your take about the Lions being a 500 football team.
Yeah,
that one's pretty good too. We'll wait and see on that. Fantasy-wise, for Hill, I don't like it. He's going from a proven system with a Hall of Fame coach, MVP quarterback. He was surrounded by weapons that he never really had to deal with too much bracket coverage. Now he's going to a team with a new offensive-minded head coach. Tua is his quarterback. Their offensive line has seemingly gotten better through free agency. There's a lot of question marks there. He's going to have to work with Jalen Waddle. I don't know how that's going to work. I mean, you look at the head coach. He made his name by doing gimmick plays to Deebo Samuel. You can't do gimmick plays to Waddle and Tyreek Hill at the same time. And also fantasy-wise, Tyreek Hill had these big games last season, but a lot of times he was priced high and just had okay games. And so really from a fantasy perspective, if you looked at the entire season and kind of set some of his big games to the side, he wasn't really that big of a player. So I don't like him in Miami. And then also, if you just look at this Miami roster all of a sudden, I don't know how often he's going to get the ball. Even if Tua can get the ball to him, there's too many mouths to feed on this team now.
All right, so as we mentioned off the top of the show, the Dolphins' odds got a lot better across the board. So in the AFC East, they're now plus 400, tied with the Patriots for second best odds behind the Bills. So, what's the ceiling for this Dolphins team now? You said there's a lot of mouths to feed. It's looking good, right, Pearce?
It is. I mean, my initial reaction is they can't beat the Bills. They're not really going to beat the Patriots, but it's really impossible to say at this moment. When you look at this roster, I think it's easy for people to forget all of the moves that this team has made. So yesterday, lost in the mix was that they signed Terron Armstead, the best offensive tackle available, one of the best offensive tackles in the game. They also added Mike Collins, a solid guard. That was their problem, offensive line. That is upgraded. Then you look, they got Mostert at running back. They've got Chase Edmonds at running back. They got Cedric Wilson at receiver, Tyreek Hill at receiver. They brought Gesicki back. I don't. This is a fantasy team. They already had Jalen Waddle, Devontae Parker, and Preston Williams. It's sweet for a fantasy team, but how does this team work in real life? They got to trade somebody. I think Parker will probably end up getting traded somewhere. Maybe they can work out getting Williams somewhere. And then, as I mentioned earlier, you've got an offensive-minded head coach coming in to what was already a defensive-minded team. So is the defense going to take a step back? I don't know. This team could be terrible next season, or they could be one of the best teams in the AFC with all those weapons.
Yeah, and let's keep in mind, too, Mike McDaniel wants to make this a run-first football team as well. And without Tyreek Hill, the Chiefs' odds, at least, for both the division and the Super Bowl, got a little longer here. KC going from plus 750 to plus 900, now behind the Bucs. They are still the favorite to win the AFC West, and right now on the DraftKings Sportsbook, you can get that number boosted from plus 165 to plus 200. Pierce, how you feel about this bet? Because, Jesse and I here think the Chiefs just got a little bit worse.
Just a little bit, maybe, but not a lot.
Exactly.
Look at the losses for the Kansas City Chiefs last season. You look at the specific times that they lost games. You know what Tyreek Hill did in those games? He averaged 6 catches for 44 yards. He could not compete against quality teams. He wasn't really adding anything. He had great games against inferior opponents. But do you want to sign a guy to a long-term contract and put a ton of money that hurts your team in other aspects of the game for a guy that's helping you beat teams that you're already going to beat? So I don't think it's really going to hurt them that much. Again, 6 catches for 44 yards in the games where you need him. Padding stats for the most part, you can replace that kind of production with, the late round first round picks they have. I think they got 30 and 31. They can get a receiver on the flyer. AJ Green is out there. Emmanuel Sanders is out there. Those guys can stretch the field, open up Travis Kelce over the middle, open up Juju Smith-Schuster underneath. I don't doubt that Andy Reid. I mean, obviously, I doubted him a little bit yesterday, but they seem to know what they were doing. I wish that maybe I would have trusted them more. But I think Kansas City is going to be absolutely fine moving forward.